Hello and welcome. It is the 31st day of March 2019. My name is Derek. This is a silver update, but it's going to pertain mostly to that of JP Morgan and silver and JP Morgan and silver. It's the fundamentals. You can, and I will, match up how things perceive within the charts and how the most likely scenario seems to be guaranteed to set up, not including or notwithstanding the fact of how the currency of fiat debt notes are made, notwithstanding the fact that this price has been known as suppressed for quite some time. Let's begin. I'm looking at the Canadian dollar chart rather than that of the US one. It's merely because I live in Canada. It pretty much is relatively close to the US one. I don't have lines drawn on the Canadian one where I do on here. And it starts off right in the time where I want it to, which is the Great Recession in 2008, 2009. And as the market was falling, stock market's falling, the investment space was going through turmoil. The economy on the streets, job losses, interesting times, we'll call them. Amongst those situations, meant banks, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns having difficulties, and I don't know which of the two it was, but for me that's not important. But J.P. Morgan were controlling the price of silver within their market systems. It was one, I think, of those two banks, but again, it's not important which one. Rather, J.P. Morgan are the ones whom are really the ones in control. At least from what I have researched, they're the ones in large control of the paper, quote unquote, paper market. I don't like that paper market because that's so 1960s, even 1930s and 40s. Oh, yeah, stocks used to be tangible because you get paper certificates with how many shares you owned. It's all digital today. So digital silver, it's still not real silver. So for the same reasons they talk about the whole paper silver, it's the same mechanism on the digital front. So the price goes up and up to 50, back down, and well, J.P. Morgan, as mentioned, like from what it sounds like, when you're in control of the market, it's pretty easy, I think, to move it how you want to, at least control it the best to your ability. And the chart that I have shown in here represents, and it's this red line that I'm focusing on. This is everybody else. We'll call these people just fuddling around, declining ownership of silver. There was a few people like this blue line started with none. All of these ones, with a darker blue included, grinding their ownership down a little bit, which is other different banks. But this red line represents J.P. Morgan. I'm going to zoom in on this. Push the button to make it bigger. There's the zoom. Scroll down. April of 2011 is when they had nothing. When the price was $50. I mean, why are you buying it at $50? I mean, why would you buy it then when you know it's just going to go lower? They barely started getting into the game in here, but I want to focus on key times. Mainly, this is when they started. What happened with the silver market? And this is the situation in here where they got up to where everyone else was, and then they just stayed in here as a top dog, but only by a bit. Everybody, this blue line, which was HSBC, was reducing their sizes. Whoever CNT, they're the ones that also came with nothing and bought a little bit, declining a bit as well. And in some cases, JP Morgan would distribute small amounts of it, but only in the small amounts, given how this trend for them has been most certainly higher highs. And as far as the number, we got 132 million ounces of silver. That's more than I got. For my number has four digits. And it's it's under 132 million, as is the silver you own and everyone else you know. Even if you're a big game player, like, you're not that big. This is the biggest silver player in the game. Not only do they own the most physical silver, they would probably own the most quote unquote paper silver, and I'll go quote unquote digital silver. And they also have a heavy influence to the price. What we're going to do is I'm going to scroll this back to its original size. The reason for doing so is I'm going to draw lines. And I want my lines to be small. They are set up that way. And I want to draw a line, not here, but I can move it roughly around here, because that's where they started buying. And we can see they started buying at the top. They stopped buying in heavy increments. And we're going to scroll. We're going to make this bigger and view the chart. They stopped buying pretty much completely somewhere up here. And they've been on a non-stop rampage ever since here. A bit before then. Alright, so I'm gonna make this bigger again. First thing I want to do is I want to see when this was made. Okay, so this goes to the end of 2017. What they've done in 2018 and the first few months of 2019, I'll take a quick look later on to see if I can find it, but I can almost rest assured it's probably continuing the same trend. They even have more silver. Let's make this even bigger again. Okay, you can't see the price on here, but I know it. This is 32. This bottom here is 26 at the lower end. So they got into the game at a relatively decent sized price when you come down to it. They bought on the way down. And even though the prices were going lower, they really didn't accumulate much during this time. But the price also declined. They waited this entire move lower. When it broke through that major $26 level, before they started heavy accumulation phase. And this line again so I can remember, that was... Okay, this is when they stopped. Never mind. Okay, never mind. This is when they stopped decent buying. This would be about $20. And then during this time frame, as the price was grinding lower, they just didn't buy much. But then they did, and look at how the price reacted to it when they started buying a lot. And it shows a lot. What does it show? Well, it didn't go down. And JP Morgan, if they're accumulating this level and they have a heavy influence on the price, well, why wouldn't they have broken support and we would not see like 14, 13, 12, 11 and those lower prices? Because obviously it's cheaper to buy. Not only did that happen, but the price managed to go up, but it was pulled back. I'm just going to try to eye this out individually. It is roughly, I'm just looking at the two boxes. It's where the E is. Okay. What were they doing around the E? Not too much, but they really started the aggressive buying between the R and the B on the top text. And notice when they started this aggressive buying, they brought the price down what they could. They brought it back down, but they didn't bring it down again any lower than this. So this $15, $16 price that we've been seeing for quite some time has been just that, the price. As it's not going higher, it's really not going any lower. So let's take a look at the market back again from the TradingView charts. and just state the obvious, because to me it's phenomenally obvious. JP Morgan is in accumulation mode. For me, as a trader, this isn't them, this is me. I like to accumulate prices when they are lower, buy on down thrusts. And if I'm going to be accumulating over a very sufficient period of time, and well, many years on JP Morgan's end, then you want to keep buying it low. And anyone who's been doing this in silver, JP Morgan, for years has been doing this at phenomenally low prices. Hey, and you know what? If you want to go further, the fact that let's put that chart up next, the U.S. dollar index, and it has a phenomenal monthly setup. But is there any reason for this increase to um, just make that price as cheap as they can in U.S. dollars? As I shown, the Canadian price is about 20, and because of the strength that the U.S. dollar has been showing, not only since here in 2014, and Uh, I'm now going to go back to that chart and see what July 2014 looked like now, but I will in a second. When they're trying to get the cheapest price they can, whatever trading vehicles and mechanisms they can use to do so, this is probably one of the big heavy influences to such. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to that original chart, look at mid 2014, and then go back to the this again with the silver market. And let's find where July 24 mid 2014 is. It was roughly in here. So they were in the just early on their first stages of really getting this thing going. Like, hey, yeah, let's. And now I want to take a look at the U.S. dollar chart for this period now too. What happened between? Because July of 2014 is right in here. So we're looking at early on. Okay, no, July 2014 is in here. Excuse me. Okay, yeah, okay. So they stopped their buying, obviously, and they did nothing much until April of 2015. So now if we go to April of 2015, I mean, yeah, I mean, come on, really? Really? I mean, yeah, right up here, right when it goes really high. But July, as we could see of the previous year, they're not buying. They first get this thing done. Okay, that step's done. Let's go ahead and buy more silver. Okay, do what you need to do. So this is all just making even more sense as I'm making this video, because that part I wasn't planning out on the video and stating such. So now let's move forward to some more parts that I am planning on talking about. And that is, and I'm going to be moving to gold after this, and in Canadian dollars too, big time. But they're definitely buying a lot, and they have heavy influence on price. There will come a time when they're going to be bringing this market's just going to they're just going to probably I don't know how they're going to how this is going to happen, but when they say it's time to go, and that time is pretty much when their buying pressure is done, they're going to just explode this. But the answer to why this isn't going any lower and they're just keeping it sideways is because that's the lowest I think they can go. I don't think they can go any lower, and they know that. For the actual cost to mine silver is pretty much spot price now. And they realize bringing it down, that's going to cause problems within supply. And that's what they're trying to accumulate. They know that. And to think that, oh, I don't want to bring the price down. I don't want these businesses to suffer. I'm not even considering that. But businesses they want to deal with and buy from, though they don't want them to suffer. They don't want them to shut their business down or temporarily stop production. And that to me is why I think it's in this mode. So this could stay in this sideways range for quite some time. And then at that point, it's just It's going to be interesting to say the least. What you may see happen is this thing rally, but rally weak. What that would indicate to me is that they're still not done buying. And they're probably going to realize in these prices what a lot of you and what I realize myself is this isn't a bad time for final stages of accumulation. And one of the easiest ways of doing it in this particular price point, and the reason why you have to is because they're probably going to be forced to. They're just going to have no choice. All they can probably do is uh, have it work the best way possible. And what I'm meaning by this is one, slower size moves so that they can dollar cost average better, but also have some of these interesting down type of moves on its way to and getting to those previous high points. The reason why I'm saying there's going to be no choice is because of all they can do is influence it the best that they possibly can. The pressures of everyone else coming in doing the trades they're doing is going to be reflective of such. And when we look at gold and the Canadian dollar is what I'm going to show. This is a very, very big deal, breaking this level of resistance. And because they're not in the position of accumulating gold, at least not to my knowledge, at least, and definitely not in heavy levels when I say accumulate, it's not in their best interest to extremely manipulate it as much as they can towards the downside, or thus avoiding the upside moves. And when and if this thing breaks out, you see and hear that this goes up to all-time highs in Canadian dollars. It's going to be very good on the American side too for its view, as it would end up breaking these level of resistance and probably having a fast move to where it came from at 15, and then the congestion area. At these situations, then silver is going to have to get going, and then breaking this level of resistance. Well, that might be when accumulation mode is over for J.P. Morgan. And if they're going to be selling, well, they bought at the cheapest prices they possibly could. Uh, what's the opposite of buying at the cheapest you possibly can? Selling at what? The highest they possibly can. I have never in my life as ever have been convinced of these magnificent high prices where I wouldn't be surprised when silver gets above this 2000 level in US dollars, let alone the 400, 500, 1000 targets that happened before then. And we are in very much interesting times. And again, I'm going to repeat this could be, and I hope it is, but the market's going to do what it's going to do. Still a good amount of time, couple, 3 years, or however long it may be, for JP Morgan to continue accumulating at low prices because that means I can continue to accumulate at lower prices as well. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. And also, by the way, starting Monday tomorrow, I'm going to be putting up gold and silver 5 days a week, about 240 days a year. So holidays not included. And there's the odd days I'm not going to be able to do it. I got one this month that I know I'm not going to do. But other than that, Monday to Friday, we got Easter coming up, so an Easter holiday will make it a 4 day week, or maybe even a 3 day week. It might be a 3 day week on one of them because it's interesting, amazing, exciting times. I think, and when J.P. Morgan is showing that they're doing this, well, they've gotten four. Well, if you put this in this perspective in here, from the point they got up to here, I'm looking at this at around somewhere between 20 and 30. So they did 4 times higher. Then when the time they started buying here in 2015, they went from like 50 to 130. So they like did better than double. And if silver at this stage in here, 132 million ounces. If it was $10 an ounce, that's 1.3 billion. 2.6 billion That's still not the largest of numbers when you consider, all things considered, how small. Well, it just shows how small the silver market is, and how there's only and how limited the supply is as well. But we'd be thinking, wouldn't a company this big wanting to be we're owning like many a billions worth of this coin? I mean, this is worth like what $2 billion at this time at $15. 1.3 times it by 150% more. 2 billion. That's not much. But this number goes higher, price goes higher. Do they have? Are they looking to literally get somewhere like 1 billion ounces of silver? Like, that's an interesting subject. The more you can find out about it, the more you might be able to determine when this thing might be ready to take off, or you might know, okay, there's a good chance you got this much time. I don't know what else you're going to be able to get off of that. But if that's the case, this could even give you more reason for why the upside price could be that much more phenomenal. Thank you for tuning in and have yourself a great day. Bye bye.